Hola, aquí estamos en lo que va a ser mi primer conversación en isolation. Here we are on what is going to be our first conversation in isolation today, and I hope to invite one person each week while this craziness we are going through happens now. Voy a intentar invitar una persona cada semana en lo que todo esto pasa y podemos volver a la vida normal. Today, we have a very special guest, actually, to begin my series, who is Jeff Coffin. Jeff is a very good friend from many years ago, and he's the Dave Matthews Band saxophone player. He was the saxophone player for Bela Fleck for many years, and he also has his own band, Jeff Coffin and the Mutet. Jeff plays a lot. He's also a great educator, of course. A lot of people knows him because of that. As a clinician, educator, and composer, producer, engineer. He has his own recording studio where he's now doing a lot of work, especially in this isolation time, for just to bring to help other people and to bring music to people. So I met Jeff about 15 years ago, 14 years ago, I guess, and we never performed together until about 2 years ago in Vanderbilt. He's teaching at Vanderbilt in the jazz program there, and it was the first time we played together. Then we played again at the Gen Conference last January, and it was a blast. So today we have Jeff. Let's see. Let me get him in, and then we'll talk for a few minutes. If you have any questions, please let us know. Okay, let me see, Jeff. I see you. Where do I get you in? Here, view. Yes. Let's see.
I'm coming, buddy. Here I am.
Jeff, what's up, man?
What's happening?
Not much. How are you doing there?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are things?
It's crazy, these
crazy.
days.
It is crazy.
How are you hanging on?
Yeah, good, man. Just kind of, hunkered down primarily, working on a lot of music and just kind of hanging out, cooking a lot of food with my wife. I'm trying to learn how to cook Indian food, actually. So I've been
Nice.
experimenting a little bit with the recipe, and I have to get some different spices. I think that the thing with Indian food is that I think it's all about the spices, and I just think they have to be a little fresher than what I have. Like the cardamom pods, they have a really heavy, distinct flavor. But what I'm finding is that I think the ones that I have are a little bit old. I think the same with the cumin seeds. So I just need to go. There's a little place in town, so I need to mask up. I have my mask here in my studio that my sister made. Thank you very much, Lauren. And so I think I have to go and get some fresher spices because I think that'll really bring the flavor out. And I may have the wrong kind of dal also, the lentils. I've tried a few different kinds, and the one I made some last night, and I think that it was the best that it's been yet.
Okay.
So I'm gonna get it though because I really love Indian food. And I want to get into like the saag paneer and the whole deal.
It's funny that I remember one time you came to town, and you took me to a restaurant. I lived here for 10 years, and I didn't know the restaurant. You took me there. I was like, "What?"
Was it an Indian restaurant?
It was a Mediterranean restaurant. Yeah.
Mediterranean. Okay. Yeah.
It was not close.
I'm always on the lookout for good places. Yeah, I'm always on the lookout. Especially like being on the road. It's like, man, you got to find really good places to eat. And there's some of my favorite places, like my favorite Indian restaurant in Nashville is just up the street from us. And it used to be kind of on the other side of town, and then we found this place. It's called Best of India, and everything is home cooked, super fresh. A lot of times Indian food has a lot of salt. Like my friend in Atlanta who gave me these recipes, like she uses a lot of salt, and I'm just like, you know, it's like just too much. So I so I cut way back on the amount of salt that I use in them, and so that's why the spices have to be really fresh. You got to be able to bring that out,
Okay.
you know. And so what kind of food do you cook?
Well, you know, being Dominican, I don't cook much, but
Uh-huh.
my wife does, and she's a great cook. So I
Yeah.
love Dominican food. But actually, today we went to a truck where they're doing Caribbean food. So they had Puerto
Uh-huh.
Rican and Dominican, and we got some of that actually for food today.
Oh, that's the
So that was
best.
good.
Man, the food
Now,
trucks, there's a really great taqueria that's down the street. I went vegetarian last year, so we don't go as much anymore. Um, but it's incredible. And on the weekends, they used to have like this smoked chicken that they'd
okay.
work on, you know, and like it looked like there were like 3 chickens on the plate. Man, there was so much food, and but super fresh. Like there's a truck outside. There's like a permanent truck outside, you know, that they cook in, and then they bring it in, and so it's great. I love finding those places. And there's a little Vietnamese place that we love to go called VM Pho in Delhi that's here in town. I'm not sure if they've been open. I'm hoping they're able to survive, you know, through this 2-month shutdown.
Yeah.
But that's one of my very favorite places. A little place called Korea House. There's also another Korean place called Tofu House that I go to, and so I'm all about the ethnic food, man. All
You
about
know,
it. But the Indian
Ryan
stuff
took
for
me
me,
to a
like I've
place.
wanted to learn how to cook it for a long time. And what my friend said, and this makes a lot of sense. First, you season the oil, you know, and then you season the food. And it's kind of the same with Italian food. My mom is full Sicilian, so it's always been the same kind of thing where you flavor the oil first. And um, and so when she does the rice, this was interesting. I didn't know this. So with the rice, so you cook up like the spices with a little bit of oil. So you do um, uh, like onions and cardamom, clove, cumin seeds, part of a cinnamon stick also. And so you put that in with the oil and you cook that till the onions are kind of getting transparent. You know, so they're starting to
Hmm.
brown a little bit. And then you add the water. So you flavor the oil, then you flavor the water, then you
Oh,
flavor the rice.
Wanda, get tips.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. So that's the way to do it, man. Like it's like all this kind of sequential kind of thing.
Okay. Well, you know, now it's a good time to learn pretty much a lot of things because we have time to do things now.
Yeah, man. And I'll be honest with you, man. I'm a little, you know, reluctant, reticent, frightened, if you will, to be going to restaurants. Like I see these pictures, man, and people are like up on top of each other, and I'm like, man, I'm not ready for that yet.
I know.
You
I
know.
know.
And
You know, we went to town today to buy stuff, you know, just to the grocery store.
yeah.
And Wanda was telling me that she didn't want to go back because a
Oh, I
lot of
believe it.
people not wearing masks.
Yeah. No, I
And it's
believe
like,
it. It's kind of a crazy thing, you know, that people aren't masking, and you know, like my mom, for example, has COPD, so if she catches this, like it's, you know, it could be over. It could be over
yeah,
quickly.
yeah,
And you know, so like when people are like, no, you know, it's America, you know, we don't have to do this, and I'm just like, yeah, man, but like do it for someone else's mom.
of course.
Like do it for your grandmother, or do it for your mom, or somebody else that is immune compromised, you know. And so it's troubling to me, you know. I mean, there's our friend Ryan Mitta, who works at Vanderbilt. He's my boss at Vanderbilt. He's the head of the jazz studies program. His wife Stephanie works at Vanderbilt and is part of the contingency that's working on a vaccine.
Well, okay.
And so they just sent me some stuff. They were talking about vocalists and how there's no safe way to do vocals together or in a room, because the force that you sing with propels the droplets into the air, and
Mm-hmm.
and so there's a lot of science that's been done about this. You know, how far they move, how far they travel. Like when you cough, the droplets are moving up to 50 miles an hour. When you sneeze, it's up to 200 miles an hour.
Gosh.
You know, and how quickly they travel in the room, et cetera, et cetera. And so, you know, I'm just not ready for that yet. I'm not ready to like go out and bring something back to my wife or to my stepsons or to anybody else.
I get it, man.
And so I'm just, you know, I'm kind of hunkered down, I'm kind of hanging out, spending a lot of time in my studio here. And so this is my studio. So loft space.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
And, yeah, so it's good. How are you doing, man? Doing good?
Same.
Colorado?
You know, I've been trying to stay home because, you know, I have mild asthma, and that can get complicated if I get this thing too.
Sure.
So for me, I'm staying home, you know, practicing. I just finished the semester about 2 days ago. I submitted my grades. I'm done. And then I'm taking sabbatical for next fall.
Right on.
So I'm going to work on the new album finally.
Great.
So I hope to have you there again. I mean,
my buddy Humberto from Brazil, he says, remember the barbecue here? Man, how could I possibly forget the barbecue? Oh my God, it was unbelievable. We went down, we had this incredible hang down in Brazil when I was there a number of years ago. And have you been down there?
No, we haven't.
Man,
that's one place we haven't been to.
Yeah, incredible. I went down there with the Mutet, and this guy Humberto, you know, had this barbecue for us while we were down there. That's what you should do on your sabbatical, man. Like if you could travel at all, which, you know, who knows? You know, you probably have your own private flight. Probably only like 3 people on your plane going to Brazil, you know.
Probably, yeah. Well, you know, it's going to be hard to go back to normal after all this.
Well, I'm not sure it's going to be I mean, it's going to be a new normal, you know. I'm not sure that anything will kind of, you know, it's like you hear about 100,000 small businesses that have already closed.
Wow.
You know, so there's a lot of repercussions that we're going to be dealing with, I think, for quite a while. And so, oh yeah, somebody's noticing the Portuguese flag back there. It's only this big, you know.
Maybe I should put a flag here somewhere in my studio too.
Yeah, hey, you know, I love Portugal also, João. Can you see the comments coming in?
I can see them, yeah, but they go fast.
Yeah.
I'll try to.
I know
try
they
to
go
answer
fast.
Well, guys, thanks for being there and talk to us. I mean, you know, Jeff and I have been friends for about 15 years now or so.
Yeah,
and it's funny that the first time we played together was 3 years ago in Vanderbilt.
Right. It was a Gen, right?
No, it was the concert I went to play to Vanderbilt with the band, with your band.
Right. Yeah, before the Gen thing. Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
That's right. That was well. You man, you write such beautiful music, man. It's so warm and inviting and interesting and hard.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it coming from you. I know it's hard. Especially
I remember that. I think it was that thing that we played at Gen or something, whatever it was. Like there was this really crazy hard thing in the middle of it, and but it's beautiful, man. It's really beautiful.
The one. Probably that's the one we're recording now next week.
Oh, is that the one? Okay,
I think that's the one.
Nice.
Well, I just said something for everybody. We'll have a little collaboration with my band, hopefully to help some of the musicians that are not playing out this time. I mean, in these times, and hopefully you can raise some money for that and give it to somebody who needs it.
Yeah, I've been running an every Friday live stream from my place, raising money for local musicians here in Nashville, and we're close to $10,000 raised already.
Nice.
And which is really great, you know. So when when people come in, you know, we get to pay them, which is great, in addition to what else they make. And Muriel
Nice.
Anderson's on. Hey, Muriel. What's up, girl? You know Muriel Anderson, a brilliant guitar player here in Nashville. She plays what's
I
called
know
a
the
harp
name.
guitar. Yeah.
Can
Oh,
I?
she's
Yeah, I can go
fantastic.
down on the.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have one of my
Hey,
pops from Dominican
Amanda.
Republic
And
too.
what's that?
I have one of my childhood friends from Dominican Republic here, Sergio.
Oh, nice, man. Right on. Yes, it's
So
nice to be able
Jeff,
to do this. It's nice to be able to do the split screen like this. Like you can't do this on
mhm,
Facebook anymore. They used to have a thing where you could, but you can't do it anymore. And
you can do it in Zoom, of
you can do
course,
it in
but
Zoom.
it's.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yesterday I had
Yeah.
one a live session with the Strandberg artists, the guitar I endorse,
Yeah.
for the Latino artists. It was 5 of us, including my son actually and me. It's funny to
Oh,
be in the
nice.
same place, him and me.
Right.
And
Right.
I remember you playing with him when he was like 3 or something. You probably don't
Yeah.
remember that. At Don's house.
That's crazy. At whose house?
Don's.
At whose house?
Don Alicos.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're
yeah,
playing
I do
in the
remember that.
backyard or something.
That's right, in the backyard. I do remember that.
Yeah, that was about,
That's right.
what,
Oh, that's
15 years
crazy,
ago,
man.
10 years ago?
Something. Yeah, more than 10 for sure. Yeah,
More than 10, yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
Jeff,
Hey, so somebody was
you
just
are-
saying that you can do this on Facebook Live now, which is nice to know. I'm gonna have to check that
Can
out
you?
because I'm gonna do another live stream tomorrow night.
Huh.
It's nice. My mom can tune in when I'm doing Facebook. She texted me last Saturday, or emailed me, I guess, and she's like, "Well, I was getting worried, like when you weren't on Facebook." I said, "Well, sometimes I do Instagram." I said, "But what were you possibly worried about?" She was like, "I was concerned. I was worried." I was like, "Okay, I have a phone. You can call me if you're concerned about something." Hey, we have Argentina
Well,
in the house. Santiago,
yeah.
all right. Hey, Argentina. And
Well, guys, thanks for
so,
tuning in.
so somebody had asked earlier, I was thinking about this earlier today. Somebody asked if there were any more birds in my studio. I had a bird in here that flew in. I had left the door open downstairs. Somehow the bird flew up the stairway, like it goes up and then it goes sideways, and flew into my studio. So I came in here, and I come to the desk and I hear this kind of like, and I'm like, what was that? And I hear it again, and I'm kind of going like, okay, something is in the studio. And so it turns out it was a bird. So I went immediately to Facebook Live. I was like, this is one of those things, that I'm going to go ahead and do this, see if I can get some suggestions from people. And yeah, you're right, Mom. Diana, you're right. Mom's always worried.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which is sweet. I love my mom.
So,
And
Jeff,
so
your
I'm like,
studio-
okay, how do I get this bird out of here, And because I had a light jacket, I wanted to throw it over the top, get the bird and bring it outside. And hey, Baltimore, what's up, Baltimore? And so somebody finally said they said take the screen off the window. And I was like,
Oh, yeah, of course.
okay, that's exactly what I'm gonna do, So my screens go the whole length of the window, like the whole height of the window, and but they just like there's two little pieces up on the top, two little buttons basically you pull out on each side.
Yeah.
And because the bird kept going over and like hitting the screen, and I felt so bad, man. But I was like, okay, the bird will eventually get tired, And but it pooped a couple of places on the floor just to let me know it had been here. And but so I opened the screen, and finally it made its way out, and we had victory. But so earlier today,
Nice.
right? So earlier today, I was thinking about that also. I had a fly in here, like it was one of those big ass, like I mean the thing is like a quarter, like between a quarter and a half inch long. It's one of those big, like you hear them flying through the air, like so much so that like the other day, like he's been in here for a couple of days. It was a horsefly. Yeah, it was like one of those big ass horseflies. So I had my microphone set up. I wanted to actually try to get it I wanted to try to get it
The
recorded as it flew by, you know, and it didn't fly by as it happened. But I was excited to try to get the sound of a fly buzzing, you know, by my microphone, and but it didn't happen. But that was fine. And but so today I heard it again, and I'm watching it, and I'm thinking, man, this is going to drive me insane, especially if I'm trying to record something, you know. So I'm watching it. It's like over in this corner, you know, like by some lights, and I've got, you know, and I heard him buzzing around in the light, and like hitting the inside of the light and all this. And so I'm watching, and he comes flying at me, and I went, shoo, grabbed him out of midair.
You got it? Oh my God.
Got him right out of midair, right? And so, you know,
Mr. Miyagi or something?
And what's that?
Mr. Miyagi?
I got rid of him. Yeah, Mr. Miyagi, right, exactly. And yeah, I wish I had the
so
it was big. It was like, you know, it was like just like watching a big piece of something come right at you. And so no more fly, but the fly reminded me of the bird, and the guy on here earlier reminded me of the bird, which then reminded me of the fly. You know, so it's you know, it's like, oh God. Yeah.
Well, you know,
it's a never-ending battle.
Jeff, I know. Somebody asked, Santiago actually asked, what are your favorite bands of the 70s?
Oh man, I wasn't born until 1985. You know, what do you mean? Nah, I'm kidding. Well, you know, it's funny, man. In the 70s, I was living in Maine, and we didn't move out of Maine until 1980, I think. Either the summer of 79 or the summer of 80. But so the music that I was listening to up there was a lot of pop music, you know, and I was starting to get into some jazz, but not much. I loved Queen, still love Queen a lot. And I remember they had a record called Jazz, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons I got that record was because I thought it was jazz. I didn't know that. I remember getting that music. I remember getting that record before I knew who Queen was. But because it said jazz on it, I was like, oh, well, I'm into jazz, you know, like I'm playing jazz. I was in jazz band, you know, and so I remember getting it on 8-track. And so I had it on 8-track. I had this little 8-track player, and I had these weird sleeping things, you know, like I had real issues sleeping when I was a kid, and part of it, yeah, it was this weird thing. So back in the day, there used to be codeine in cough medicine, right? I don't know if you remember this or not, but like you would have cough medicine and it would have codeine in it. Now, codeine is a narcotic, and like I would like if I had a cold, I would take this, and I would kind of have these weird trips when I was a kid. I'd be like 8 or 9 years old, and like I would get tunnel vision. It would feel like there was like cotton between my fingers. Like I was having these weird psychotic episodes from codeine, right, and the cough medicine, and so they kind of lasted. Like I would sort of have these things sometimes, like, and I can't remember if I was taking cough medicine for cold or what it was, but these things would happen. So like I couldn't sleep, you know, because they were freaking me out. Like it would look like my clock was really far away and all this stuff. And so I would go in my closet with my 8-track player, and I would listen. Like I would just put it up against my ear and listen to it. Like I don't think I had headphones either at the time. And so I would just, you know, I would spend hours listening to this music, and
listening to jazz.
Yeah. And so I would listen to that, and I remember I had some Tom Scott, also, who's a great saxophone player. I had some Tom Scott and the LA Express. I remember listening to that on 8-track. And but I was into other groups like I remember liking Zeppelin a lot and Foreigner. I remember listening to Styx, the group Boston, and whatever was on the radio too, you know. And I remember one of the things about some of the tunes on the radio is that you know, they were programmed, right? So Pink Floyd. Somebody asked about Pink Floyd. I'll tell you a story about Pink Floyd after this. And so there were certain tunes that would get played ad nauseum, you know. And my sister. So check this out. So every weekend, they used to have the Casey Kasem Top 40, right? It was like a, you know, it was like a big thing. Chicago. I love the group Chicago also. Great horns. Of course. And so my sister, every weekend, I want to say it was on Sunday, they would do the top 40 countdown. It was like a 3-hour countdown of 40 songs. There'd be stories, dedication, all that crap, right? My sister would write down every tune in the top 40, right? She would listen to 3 hours, and I'd be outside like playing baseball with my friends, and we lived in a small town, man. But we had my front yard was literally a baseball diamond. We had 40 acres of land up in Maine, a little town called Dexter, Maine, and so we'd be out playing baseball, and like we'd need another player, and she would not come out, man, until the top 40 countdown was over. You know, we'd be begging her to come out and play baseball. She was a good baseball player, actually. And but she would write shit down all the time, man. Yeah, Casey Kasem, right, Diana. And so yeah, so you know, I mean, whatever was on the radio, you know, we would hear that, and
yes, serious.
We could only get a few stations where I was. What's that?
No, Sergio was asking me too about the 80s. You know, for me, I was not into jazz at the beginning. For me, it was Kiss. Kiss and Iron Maiden were my bands when I was, you know, 13, 12 or something like that. Actually, I remember buying my first album. Actually, no, my first album was Saturday Night Fever.
Oh, wow.
That was my very first album, my first LP.
Yeah.
Then when I got into, you know, more contemporary music, let's say, I got Grease and all that stuff, and then of course all the Latin stuff. But my first heavy metal album was Kiss, The Elder, and then Creatures of the Night.
I loved Kiss also in the 70s.
You know, it was a great band that they got me into music. I wanted to play guitar because of Gene Simmons.
Okay.
Of course, he plays bass, but
yeah.
I didn't know. So for me, it was like, you know, it's a guitar, an axe guitar.
Yeah.
So that was my introduction to music, actually. And then in the 80s, Sergio, that was, for me, I would say Metallica, still today, Metallica, Megadeth.
Metallica, yeah.
Love Gun, of course. Love Gun, I remember listening to that when I was 13 or 12 or something.
Yep.
Still love it, man. I still love Kiss. Actually, we went to a show here in Wyoming. It's crazy that they are almost 70 or so and still doing a 2.5 hour show like that.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. Well, you know, music will keep you young, man. Like the arts will keep you young, and creativity will keep you young, and you know, it's important to stay creative.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And that's what I think.
Hey, one of the somebody said Motorhead also.
Motorhead, of course.
Nathan Patrick 5 just asked, what do you recommend for tenor sax as an intermediate player? I'm assuming they're asking about a particular horn, and I play all Yamaha stuff. I always recommend Yamaha instruments. I think that the quality of the Japanese horns are like at the highest level, you know. And so if you're looking for an intermediate horn, man, go with the Yamaha. Go with like a Yamaha 52 series, and I'll put that in here actually. Like a Yamaha 52. Those are excellent horns, really well built, and so Nathan, you can check that out. So my Pink Floyd story. Okay, so not unlike you, when I got when I really got into jazz, when I started really listening, I kind of got obsessed. I didn't listen to the radio, literally didn't listen to the radio for maybe 6 or 8 years, like not at all. And so there are tunes that that were huge, like million sellers that I've never heard. And like people play stuff and I'll just be like, never heard it. And they're like, you've got to be kidding me. Like this tune was huge. It was enormous, you know? And I'm like, man, real, like I haven't, you know, I've never heard it. And so with Pink Floyd, I'm sure that I had heard some of the stuff on the radio, you know, but I remember I was in college. I was at North Texas. Oh, speaking of North Texas, oh no, somebody else. Okay, so it's like when a squirrel comes to a dog. It's like, oh, squirrel, squirrel. So I remember reading that Dark Side of the Moon had been the longest standing record in the top 100 or top 40 or whatever it was. It was like one of the best selling records of all time. It had been on the charts. It had been on the charts for like some crazy amount of time, like for years, like for 5 or 8 or 10 years, something really insane. Somebody may know, you know, who's out there, how long Dark Side of the Moon stayed on the charts. And I thought, okay, this is the longest running record on the charts in history, and I haven't heard it. So I remember I went out and I bought it on CD, and man, I couldn't get enough of it. I remember very clearly, like the very first time I listened to it, when all the bells come in, and which was really great. But then the alarm clock goes off. All the alarms go off, and man, it scared the crap out of me, you know. And because it was super mellow, and then the alarms go off, and I was underneath headphones, and man, I must have jumped 10 feet when that happened. And but I know that record backwards and forwards. And
they say 900 weeks.
900 weeks. Okay. Yeah.
That's a lot, man.
I don't know. It's like an entire lifetime. And but an incredible record, man. And you know, and I will say this too, that you know, people talk about that record and the Wizard of Oz, you know, and like when you started at the Roar of the Lion, like the third Roar of the Lion, and you watch it through, and what happens, you know, with the record, like where there's dialogue in the movie, there's instrumental in the record. When there's lyrics and singing on the record, there's silence. You know, there's like other stuff going on in the movie. It's uncanny. It's uncanny. And there's a rainbow on the front of the record. I'm just saying. You know, it syncs up. Yeah. So somebody said
something.
Somebody asked about experiences of playing with the Flecktones and Dave Matthews, the challenges that both gigs presented. Let me address that real quick, because I think that's an important thing. So I spent 14 years with Bela Fleck in the Flecktones. I've been with Dave Matthews now 12 years. And so I think this is important. So as a musician, and you know this too, Sox, that when we get a gig, when we're asked to play with an ensemble, whether I'm in the studio, whether I'm on stage, whether I'm in a rehearsal, whether it's a big band, if I'm a soloist, if I'm in a horn section, depending on what instrument I'm playing also, I have a role to play. And I have to figure out how to best play that role as authentically as possible. So my goal in whatever ensemble I'm playing with is to be as authentic as possible. So if you're asking me to play your music, for example, which is based out of the Dominican Republic, your music has a very heavy Latin flavor to it. And so I played Afro-Cuban music, but Dominican music is very different than Afro-Cuban music. So in order to play your music, I have to study that music. And I have to learn about that music. I have to become authentic in that music. And that's a challenge, you know? So the challenges that both of those bands presented for me was to be as seamless as possible, jumping into their river. Because I joined both bands, excuse me, both bands I joined after they were already very established. And I've said this about both groups, the audience knew the music much better than I did when I first joined the ensembles. And so trying to integrate into that is a real challenge. You know, you want to give the audiences everything that they deserve, which is the highest level of understanding within the music. But when you're just learning the music also, it's a real challenge. And I've told this story a number of times, you know, with the Flecktones, that music is so complicated. The first gig I did with them was up in Vermont. And I remember after the gig, I went to Bela and I said, man, I said, I really appreciate the opportunity. I said, but I'm fine to go home on a bus tomorrow, you know? And I really did. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I said, man, I said, you know, I said, your audience knows the music better than I do. And I said, it's so challenging. I said, I don't want to hold you guys back. I said, you guys are such an established band already, you know? And I said, I don't want to feel like I'm holding you back or that the audience isn't getting what they're paying for. And he was like, man, he said, for the first gig, he says, that was fantastic. You know, he was always very supportive. And so I appreciate that. You know, the two leaders, Bela and Dave Matthews, have always shown a lot of support to me and the other band members too, of course. And I've always really appreciated that. That's meant a great deal to me.
Nice. Let me ask you something, Jeff. Yeah. How long does it take to you to go off the page into memory and just play the music?
It depends.
Not my music.
With well, you know, with the Flecktones, with the Flecktones, one of the things, well, Dave Pietro came to a gig. It was, I think, like the second or third gig I did with him. And it was at the Knitting Factory in New York. And I remember one of the things he said to me was, get off the page as quickly as possible. He said, because that then makes you there's a couple of things that does. First of all, it makes you indispensable with the ensemble because you've got the music memorized. It also frees you up within the music. So especially with complicated music or asymmetrical music like the Matthews Band. So it allows you much, much greater freedom. So I highly recommend that, first of all. So at the Flecktones, you know, I would work as hard as I could trying to memorize the music. And with Dave Matthews, it was in early 2009 when I started to memorize the book. And so I took about a month, 3 to 4 hours every day, put my iPod on shuffle and played along. So I don't know, that's 900 hours, I guess, 30 days and 3 to 4 hours a day, between 900 and 1,200 hours in a month. And I did that every day, every single day. And so that was just to get it, because there were about 150 tunes in the book at the time. And so making sure, so there's one thing to memorize it, right? There's another thing to actually put that memorization into application.
Oh yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
memorizing the stuff and being able to play along with it at home is one thing. Being on stage in the moment and playing it is another thing entirely. And there would be times that so I would have a list underneath this plexiglass up there that has all the tunes and the instrument that I play on. And I would forget sometimes, and I would like pick up the tenor, and Rashawn would be like, soprano. And I'd be like, oh shit, okay. You know, and I would look at the set list and I'd be like, oh God, what instrument do I play on this tune? And so it was a process. I've never worked harder on a gig than the Dave Matthews gig. You know, to memorize all that music. The forms are asymmetrical, meaning that like maybe in the first chorus, we play a certain line, and then in the next chorus or the third chorus, there's like a couple of extra bars or a couple of extra beats, or the line changes. So the music is asymmetrical. So it's not like you're just memorizing a bunch of horn parts and oh, you're off to the races. This music is complicated and complex, you know, polyrhythmic, and so it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and Rashawn has been great. You know, a lot of people are asking about Rashawn, and I think we do have a great chemistry. Thank you for mentioning that. Also, I do think that we have a great chemistry on stage, and we work really well together. We're great friends, and you know, he's a brilliant mind. I think he's a musical genius, quite honestly, and an incredible player, but incredible arranger. Most people have no idea of the depth of his improvisational chops, and you know, the amount of solos that he has memorized, the stuff that he can hear. It's crazy, man. I've never known anybody like that, and I've known of a few people and gotten to know them over the years, but it's really incredible what he does. And so he learned from Leroy Moore, the original saxophone player, and I knew Roy pretty well also, you know, through the Flecktones days. And so, you know, the influence of Roy, someone was asking about that earlier, the influence of Roy on the music also, on my playing the music of Dave Matthews Band, of course, cannot be overstated. You know, I'm playing his parts. There are certain phrases that I play every night that are him, you know, and the reason that I do that, even though people in the audience don't know, I know, and I know that when I play those things, I'm playing him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like I weave his lines verbatim sometimes into my solos, because, you know, he's the guy that was there.
Well,
You know?
it's respect, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. It's homage, you know, to a fallen brother. It's homage to a fellow musician, and to you know, someone whose influence will continue to carry within that band forever, you know. And so yeah, he's sorely missed, man. There's a lot of funny stories that go on in the dressing room, you know, that those guys will tell. And so, you know, he lives in all of us. There's no question. And he lives in those guys in a very profound and particular way. And so,
well, you know,
yeah,
respect, I think, is one of the things we need to, you know, to show to people, especially if you take the place of somebody else in a band, or if it's somebody you admired for a while. You know,
sure.
that piece you were mentioning. No, the piece you were mentioning I did with my band that you played is the entire sax solo is actually a solo from one of our Dominican players from the 40s. And I got the actual recording from the 40s, the actual tape. But another friend of ours, Juan Colon, another great saxophonist from the DR, he transcribed all the solos, like the Omnibook, that Omnibook.
Wow.
And then he gave me the solos before he published it, actually. He gave me the manuscript,
Oh, wow, very cool.
and I took one of those solos and put it together for the band. And that it's hard, but you know, it's what it is.
Yeah.
I didn't want to change it.
Yeah, I think you're right, man. I mean, I think that you know, paying homage, um, and respect in whatever ensemble you're in, I think that's, you know, I think that's really important, man. Like, you can't go in just thinking that you're going to hang the moon. You know, you've got to go in and I mean, here's the thing, man. Music is a service industry. You know, as musicians, we are in a service industry. We serve the music first. We serve the musicians we're on stage with second. We serve the audience third. So I'm at least fourth on the list, you know, but by serving those others, you in turn get served. And that's really the way that I look at it. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that you have to come in understanding your role in the ensemble, what you're being asked to do. And, you know, so recognizing those things and coming in with that understanding, with that authenticity, I think is really important. And I try to approach every gig that I do.
And I can tell, man. Yeah. I mean, I remember the first time we played together and you came in and remember you had something else. You had another gig at the, somewhere else. I don't remember where. You had in Nashville, you had another gig. And you came pretty much for the show only. But the way you played my music made me feel like that, like you said. You know, that's the way I felt. I mean, on stage, I was like, yeah, this is the music. Yeah. It's not about you or me even. It's about the music. What's happening with the music.
Yeah, and it has to be. And one of the ways that, you know, one of the ways that you learn about that is by listening. That's why, to me, listening is the most important fundamental. It's at the very top of the list. It will always be at the top of the list. You know, there's nothing more important, in my opinion, than being a great listener. And so I've really worked on that over the years. I know you have also. You're a great listener too. And people don't achieve a level of success, a level of engagement without being a great listener. And our audience too. I mean, look, here's the thing, man. You know, you think about the Flecktones audience, the Dave Matthews Band audience. These are some great listeners. We're throwing a lot of stuff at them, and we're asking them to listen on a high level. And so, you know, I give them a lot of credit for being able to hear a lot of different things. Yeah. And so we challenge them too, as musicians, as improvisers. You know, we're challenging the audience too. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yep.
But that's the beauty of a live gig also, is that you know, we're going to stretch your ears. We're going to challenge you as much as we're challenging one another on stage. It's like, you know, we're asking you to come along for the journey and to listen at a high level. And so it's hard sometimes because you know, there's a lot of noise at gigs, you know, and not everybody's listening all the time. Yeah. And it's frustrating sometimes, but I get it too. Like, you can't expect everybody to be there for the same experience. And but sometimes in Europe, one of the things that we've noticed is that the audiences are really listening at a different level. And so, you know, I think sometimes, you know, like when American crowds or American fans go to Europe and they're in those audiences, they're kind of like looking around going like, why is everybody so quiet? Except for like when you get to Portugal and then like they're raised on the roof, like everybody's jumping up and down, and, you know, it's different in different parts. It's so interesting, man. It's so interesting and fascinating.
Oh man. So you bring so many memories for many things that, you know, we've done in our lives as musicians.
Right, of course.
And places like that where, you know, you play and nobody reacts. And it's like, holy shit, what's going to happen? And nobody,
Yeah.
they don't like the music. And then at the end of the thing, it's like, and you're like, oh my God, what was that?
Yeah. Right.
It's pretty cool, though.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
what about, you did something with Pat Coyle recently in your studio.
Yeah, I did. Pat and I wrote a tune together called Emergence, and did a video just to get, we got together, and, like before the lockdown, obviously, and started this tune. And so I want to write some more with Pat. It was super fun. I thought it came out really well. And
yeah.
So yeah,
from my time in Nashville, Pat was the pianist on every recording I did.
Oh, he's brilliant, man.
He's brilliant and a super nice guy too.
Yeah.
So I have this, by the way. Thank you.
Oh yeah, the road book. Yeah.
Musicians, if you don't know this book, you should. I mean, I know we are in isolation now, and we can't do what Jeff says here. But this book is the Jeff Coffin, the road book, A Musician's Guide. And Jeff talks a lot about different things we need to know before you get in the van, pretty much,
right?
To, for a tour. It's a pretty cool book. You can read it in an hour or two if you're a slow reader, and it's a lot of great information. Thanks for this, Jeff. This is pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. Thanks for mentioning it. Yeah, so that's kind of a guide to all the many things, or not all the many things, but to a lot of the many things that you have to deal with before you go out on the road. And there's about 40 baskets of things in there, and all stuff that I've done many, many, many times. And so yeah, there's a lot of information. Someone was I've written a few books. Someone was asking about some saxophone exercises, and I've got a book. Well, it's a series of 3 books. I'm going to put it up here for everybody. It's called The Saxophone Book, and you can go to thesaxophonebook.com and you can find them there. I've also got a play along series. People can just go to my website. It's all there, jeffcoffin.com, and links to everything that I'm doing. That's kind of like the central hub. And it's kind of like the Penn Station of all my stuff. So you can get anywhere from Penn Station you want to go to. So for any of my books, you can get to all those different places from jeffcoffin.com. And I put a lot of time in on these things. I'm in the middle of another book also, for young improvisers from all the clinics that I've done, which I've done well over 300 clinics at this point. And I love education. I love teaching. I love working with young students, getting them to, sort of understand the vertical nature of harmony, as well as the horizontal nature of rhythm and time. And so, talking about those things and teaching those things is really important to me. And so this book that I'm working on is dealing with helping young improvisers understand the bones of the music, which are the arpeggiations, the chord tones, and doing voice leading, how one note moves into the next note, into the next chord, etc. So you start to have this weave, literally this weave, this architecture that's going forward. And so I think it's an important book. There's going to be a lot of call and response in the book. So yeah, just always in the middle of something, just trying to, look long-term and find creative ways of being creative.
Well, like I said before, I think you are one of the most creative people I know in general, since I met you. Everything you do, man, is at that level, and it's super, super great. I mean, for any musician or for anybody, but for musicians, all the stuff you're putting out, it's pretty cool. I think we all can, learn from you.
Thank you.
And I am, honored to have you as my friend and playing with me sometimes. I mean, it's great to have you on the stage.
Man, the honor is mine. Thank you. The honor is mine. Yeah, that you even asked, man. I'm honored. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I love being with you.
Man, there's no guarantee in this business. you know. And so, you know, you have to you have to depend on relationships to drive your career, you know. And I'm fortunate to have friends who want to hire me for stuff, and I'm very grateful, man. For every opportunity. I've been doing some stuff with my friend John Foreman, the group Switchfoot, and I just did some recording with them. And I've worked with John on a number of his projects, and every time he calls me, man, it's something interesting. I get to play bass clarinet because he's a huge bass clarinet fan. So I get to play bass clarinet on his material, and I did some stuff with Matt Rawlings recently, another brilliant pianist here in town. And there's an EP with myself and Matt and Jay Belarus on drums that's coming out soon, and just did some stuff with Michael Kang from String Cheese Incident with Jennifer Hartswick and some other folks, and Nigel Hall. And so, you know, it's been good to reconnect with a lot of people,
I know.
because, you know, we have an opportunity now, and we have some downtime, so that we're not all moving 1,000 miles an hour and trying to you know, get to the next gig. So we're able to reconnect in a lot of really beautiful ways. So that's been nice, man.
And you know,
really nice.
and it's happening. It's pretty great, actually. You know, for me, like you said, man, being in this business for almost 30 years now, for me, I still work with the same people. It's funny how that works, you know. People I worked with 30 years ago, they still call me to do things. And it's a blessing. You know, it's a blessing that they still trust me to work with them in anything. And I think I always say this to my students, actually. You know, it's not only being a great musician. You have to be a great musician if you not get called, of course. That's a given. But be a nice person. And then you get the calls.
First and foremost, yeah. Well, I tell people, you can, you know, you want to be an asset, not an asshole. You know, there's a big difference between those things. So I always tell people, be an asset. Don't be the other ass. Be an asset. You know, and
that's great.
I think that's important. I think that's important. So
well, Jeff, we've almost been talking for about an hour, which we can talk for hours. I know that, but
I know. I appreciate the time, bro.
Well, I appreciate that you came, and you know, it's the first time I do this. You know, I'm trying to just, you know, talk to people, talk to my friends, and you know, get it going.
Yeah, it's important.
Anything you'd like to say to your millions of fans?
Well, I don't know if I have millions of fans, but I've got a few out there, I think. You know, thank you. Really, I mean, you know, from the bottom of my heart, man, thank you for the support over the years. And, you know, I'm always grateful that people listen to the music. And, you know, none of us ever hope to disappoint anybody. And, you know, I hope that I never do. I'm sure there have been times, you know, through different posts or different things here to there, or, you know, whatever. And, but I'm grateful for each and every one who listens to the music, who supports the music. And, you know, we can't do this without people listening. And so as sincerely as I can say, thank you. It means a lot.
Same here, guys. If you know my music or Jeff's music, thank you. Because, you know, the entire connection between audience and us is what makes us. It's what makes you like what we do and work together in this.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Hey, and also I think Instagram is about to stop. I think it stops at an hour. I think.
Oh, yeah, I saw it.
Because I got cut off the other day.
I'm learning from you.
So anyways, thank you. Lots of love, brother. And thanks everybody for checking it out and spending some time.
Talk to you soon.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, man. Thank you. Take care, y'all. All right. Peace, man.